The Twins are hitting the road again already. Didn't they just get home? It's just as well because the most recent game at Target Field, let's not talk about it. And we have a special guest to discuss the 4-game road trip to Kauffman Stadium. Who could it be? We're going to tell you, but only if you first get Locked on Twins.
You are Locked on Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked on Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked on Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team every day. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe where applicable. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer because I got nowhere else to go. I'm also a BBWA member and a Hall of Fame voter. Across the Great Plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warren. Brandon knows where to go to get a spiffy-looking new basement. Check it out. Brandon was a Twins fan who became a Twins writer, and now he's both. You can't find us at Puckett's Pond anymore, but there's always Access Twins and zone coverage. We'll talk more about that in the coming era. Today's episode, by the way, is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. And I realize I just read that out of order. But on the podcast today, the Twins are going to Kansas City. Kansas City, there they go. Are we going to get in trouble for doing the ad out of place, Brandon?
Probably.
Right. Kauffman Stadium is kind of a dangerous place for the Twins, as is all of Missouri lately. Helping us preview the Royals series is David Lesky of Inside the Crown. Nobody has a better handle on the Royals than David, who's been our guest before. You're in for some actual insight this time. Bobby Witt is still with the Royals. Doggone it, I checked. We'll see how he's doing, if we dare, plus the other non-Bobby Witt Royals. Who's the pitchers in this series? It matches up kind of nicely, starting with the 5th starters in Game 1 on Monday and going 1, 2, 3 from there. We now bring in Brandon. Brandon, we have a special guest today, but the surprise real star of the show might be your basement. What do you got going on back there? That looks like a seat back from the Metrodome. Am I right?
Yeah, and then next to that is an Eric Milton game ticket stub from when he no-hit the Angels. Namely, I think Orlando Palmeiro, Jeff Devannon may have made an appearance. It was like a 10:30 game on a Saturday because they had to quick switch the field over for the Minnesota Golden Gophers in like 1999. So, yeah, not a basement though, Dave. My office is on the main floor, I'll have you know. But it's
I keep getting that wrong. I'm sorry.
Very basement-y though. Maybe I'll do a visual tour for the fans sometime because I sent you a couple pictures and there's a lot going on in a very small space.
It's great. That bookshelf is amazing. Bookshelf case.
12 by 12.
I would hate to have it fall on me. As we mentioned, our guest today is David Lesky of Inside the Crown. David, how long have you been writing about the Royals?
Oh man. God, that's a good question. Since 2010, I want to say.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe 2011. So, however many years that is, 2025, should be pretty easy to figure out, but 15, 16 years. Yeah. Been a long time.
Billy Butler era.
Oh yeah. I got laid off from a job and decided, hey, I got to write, and started a Royals blog, and and basically there's no middle. The middle is unimportant, and the end is that I'm here with you guys.
Well, we're very glad that you are. Tell us, jumping ahead 15 years, what's your first impression of the Royals after 9 games?
Yeah, so I was out in Arizona. I caught about a week of spring training. I left thinking, boy, this team is good, legitimately good. Felt really good about them. The vibe was there. Everything was there. After a week and a half, I was sitting watching. I was at the game today, and I thought to myself, I could see this team losing 90 games. So it's made a shift. I still think they have a chance to be really good too. There's just too much top end talent on this team to really fall off the map. You Bobby Witt, Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, Cole Reagans, Seth Lugo. I mean, Lucas Urseg. The back of the bullpen's been really good. So there's a core that you look at and you go, okay, this team can't be terrible. And similar to the Twins, there's a lot. If the supporting cast plays well, this team can be really good. And so they've just been a little sloppy over the first week and a half. And it doesn't show up in error numbers or anything. But like today, Hunter Renfro'd. And, it cost Chris Bubich a run in the seventh inning, probably a seventh inning outing because he ended up going 6 2/3. So things like that I keep seeing them, and it's Michael Garcia gets picked off second base for no reason. Things like that, and you go, this team is not as fundamentally sound as last year. Are they thinking it's because they're so good they don't need to be? Are they a little bit into their own hype? Because there's a lot of people who pick the Royals to win the division. And, I don't want to get into the mental side of it. I don't know these guys personally very well. I've talked to most of them, but I have a really difficult time saying this is what he's thinking. But yeah, I mean, I have a little more concern after 9 games than I would have liked to. And then I asked myself, okay, they lost 2 extra inning games. If they had won those 2 and they're 6-3, do I still feel the same way? Maybe not. Maybe it's totally a record-based idea. I don't know, but a little bit more concerned than I was. But I still think they have a chance to be really good this year.
Quick look at the standings. I don't have a card to show anybody, so you're going to have to look at it yourself. But Tigers 5-4, leading the AL Central, and that's only after the White Sox gave it up late Sunday. Royals 4-5, right there with them. Twins 3-6, should be 4-5. I don't know how they lost today. Some of the reason I don't know is because I was only paying half attention because I was at the Royals game too. I was scouting for them and they still didn't do anything. Guardians 3-6, they can't beat the Angels or not very much. And then the White Sox 2-7, which I think is better than anybody predicted. But the point I'm getting to is sort of kind of the same thing that the Twins have in common with the Royals. They have the AL Central. Nothing is too far out of reach yet. So, like, whatever kind of start the team's gotten off to after a week and a half, it can't be that bad because you're not going to be that far out of first place.
Unless you're the White Sox.
We should just say, except for the White Sox, no matter what point I bring up. So one thing that is the same, but I suspect a little better about the Royals is I don't see it in the stats yet, but I've seen a couple of plays, mostly on defense, but whatever, offense too. Bobby Witt looks like, last year wasn't a fluke. I don't know if anybody's saying that it was, but I think he can improve on that a little bit, which is saying something because he was great last year. I don't know if there's a better player in the league other than Shohei Ohtani. Maybe, but he's up there. He's close. And he turned on the Jets on a triple today. A triple. Here's my yes. That Mateo lost in center field. Probably should have caught. But hey, he took advantage of it, and he made a really great play on Jordan Westburg, a ground ball up the middle. That from the press box, I didn't think he had a chance to get, and he was reaching for it, and he got it, and he was able to get up and flip the ball to second. It was one of the more impressive Bobby Witt plays, I think, and he's made a lot of those. He looks okay to you, doesn't he?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it's funny because he, Pasquantino, and Perez have all gotten off to relatively slow starts, and Witt's slow start is pretty much over now. 3 for 4 today, the home run yesterday. So that is a nice little turnaround, and it shows how early it is that you can have 2 good games and go from, wow, is this guy a fluke, or to, wow, okay, he's back to MVP caliber. So it does turn very quickly this time of year. But he also had a lot of hard hit outs, which people get really tired of hearing, but also it's valid. You hit the ball hard, good things are going to happen. And when they don't happen, it's basically the thought process is if you keep doing it, they will happen. So he's had a little tough luck this year. Seems like it's turning around a little bit. Maybe that triple was the luck turning around for him a little bit. But yeah, he started off really well. Looks the part. It's funny because 2023 he started off and had a really rough 2 months, and there were people calling for him to go to AAA. I didn't understand it, but they were, and people are. And then he turned it around starting in early June after a trip to Texas. Then he got to go home and talk to his people. I think that really helped a little bit. And ever since then, he's been one of the best players in baseball. And I think that there's an argument that he's the best overall player in baseball. Judge is a better hitter. Ohtani's a better hitter. But I don't know that there's anybody in baseball who plays defense like he does and hits like he does and runs like he does. So to have that's a really nice starting point. And it's like I said earlier, that's a big reason why the floor for the Royals is pretty high.
He said something today too related to his day at the plate that I thought was pretty cool from the nerd inside me, and maybe the nerd is somewhere more than inside me. Maybe it's the entire me. He's like, I think
The call's
the
coming
cycle
from
is a
inside the
little
house.
the cycle's a little overrated. I'm like, really? Because he had a chance for a cycle today, and he needed a home run in what turned out to be his last at bat. We thought maybe that he would get another one, but he took a called third strike. I thought that was great because, a cycle is kind of overrated because I would rather have two doubles than a single and a double that you'd need for a cycle. For example, that's what I'm saying. I want more bases, and so he kind of poo-pooed it. And I think he one of the things that he does is he pushes aside these little things that don't really matter that people can get caught up in to kind of clean up things mentally and not worrying about setting little records or stuff that doesn't matter. He sort of reverted into cliches from there. I'm just trying to help the team win, and but I think that is generally what he's trying to do. He's a superstar, but as a team first superstar. Is that fair?
Yeah. And I mean, the thing I will say though, cycles are overrated until you get one, and that's the coolest thing in the world. So it's easy to say they're overrated when you didn't get it. But you are right. I mean, I think about and there have been other games like this, but Kendrys Morales for the Royals back in 2016, I want to say, hit 3 homers and a triple. I would take that over a cycle, right. But he didn't hit for the cycle, so nobody talks about it. But 15 total bases in one game is pretty bonkers. A cycle, if you only get one of each, is only 10 total bases. So I don't know. I am not the best at math, but 15 is more than 10. I think. I need to get.
Morales isn't going to be jumping up and down over that anytime soon. Let me tell you.
Well, that's why that's how he got hurt that year too. I think hitting the third home run. But yeah, no, he's right. It is overrated in a lot of ways.
That is Twins legend Kendrys Morales to both.
I'm sorry. You're right.
Traded for Stephen Pryor, whose wife blocked me on Twitter because I said he was having a bad season because he had as many walks as strikeouts.
What kind of a jerk says something like that?
I don't know.
Ridiculous.
I'm a different person 10 years ago, though.
Yeah, no, that's fair. We all evolved.
We've changed.
Let's pay some bills for Stephen Pryor and do a break, and then we'll come back with David Lesky of Inside the Crowd.
Well, let's give some love to Just Ingredients. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters, which is why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has also partnered with 2-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts their NSF-certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. My wife actually put them in these things she makes with oatmeal and they're protein little oatmeal balls, and it was incredible. Tasted so good, and I would eat that anytime I was feeling like I wanted a little something sweet. I'm trying to eat better, and so if I need something, I can turn to Just Ingredients and the chocolate protein powder. Tastes delicious and still very, very good for you. If you want to get in on this, visit justingredients.us. That's .us. Make sure you do that and use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get 20% off. And for more wellness tips, check out just.ingredients on Instagram.
Locked On Twins is back. With David Lesky of Inside the Crown, we are previewing the Twins-Royals series. We've talked about Bobby Witt and the start of the Royals, which is not great, but it doesn't matter because it's only 9 games. And it's the AL Central. Plenty of time to get healthy against the Twins. Against the whomever else they play. So,
can I ask a question?
No. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Go ahead.
Roster Resource has Cavan Biggio as the DH. Now, I know he hasn't started in 2 days, but he's played first, left, DH. What's the plan at DH? Because I feel like if Cavan Biggio is your plan at DH, You have no plan at DH.
Yeah. So Vinny Pasquantino got hurt the very last game of spring. The last game of Arizona spring. They went to Texas for a couple games, and he hurt his hamstring running out of ground ball. It was a 117-mile-per-hour ground ball, by the way. So that's kind of crazy. Hurt his hamstring and basically promised he'd be back for opening day, and everybody thought no, you're not. And then he was back, and he was DHing, and so he DH'd the first. What did he? I can't remember which game he sat in now. I think it was Wednesday.
Tuesday.
So Tuesday.
Yep.
Okay, so he DH'd the first 4 games, sat, and then DH'd again, and then finally got on the field to play first base on Friday. So him not being able to play first kind of threw some things out of whack, because the Royals' plan generally is most days Pasquantino is going to play first, Perez is going to catch, and they're going to rotate DH a little bit. So it seems funny to say this given how poor of a hitter a few of these guys have been and are, but you'll see Renfroe at DH. You'll see Melendez at DH. You'll probably see Jonathan India at DH. Michael Massey DH'd this weekend. I can't remember which game it was. But so the idea is to get a lot of guys time off. And then when Salvador Perez gets out from behind the plate, he's either going to DH or play first. And then on those days, Pasquantino will DH. So that threw off him not being able to play first at all, really threw off the rotation a little bit. And so the other side of that was first baseman. They don't have another first baseman on the roster because Salvador Perez is the backup. So what happens when the first baseman can't play, but the backup first baseman catches is somebody else has to be there. And it was Kevin Biggio. I don't love it, honestly. Kevin Biggio hit a good spring from an on-base percentage standpoint, which is what he does. I talked to a couple scouts early in spring who said he looked like the guy from 2019, 2020, which is great, except for, a lot of guys look really good in February and early March because there's no real competition. It's just getting ready for the season. So kind of held out judgment. He hasn't been bad by any stretch. There was one throw at first that I thought a seasoned first baseman would have caught. Where I get confused is, why'd you go get Mark Canha right before the season if you're not going to play him at first base? He plays some first base. But, whatever. Pasquantino's back on the field now. It seems like he's healthy. Hamstrings are iffy, so there could be a reoccurrence, of course. But that's the plan, is a rotation. I think you'll probably – they had Adam Frazier at DH at points last year. So Matt Quatrero plays his whole roster. It's the Tampa Bay way. You guys see it with Rocco. It's just they play everybody. And look, everybody, all of them have had success. Obviously, the Rays clearly have had success. The Twins have obviously had success. The Royals had success last year. There's something to it. But yeah, it's you see a lot of guys go in and out of certain spots, and Kevin Biggio is, of all the guys, Kevin Biggio is one of them.
On this note. I kind of wanted to talk about this more than even the starting pitching matchups. It just seemed like the pitchers seemed like more of a natural thing to put before this. But the Royals can have a very strange defensive alignment, and it's tied into what you're talking about. Jonathan India is a second baseman by trade, although I think he played third.
He was drafted as third baseman.
Yeah. But lo and behold, he's also the left fielder now, one of them, which is a crazy thing to think about in Kauffman Stadium. But there's that, and there's Michael Garcia. He's the third baseman. Well, he's also the center fielder today, and sometimes he's played second. And they have, of course, catcher MJ Melendez, who plays the corners. And
I don't know that he's a catcher or a left fielder, to be fair.
Right. That's a fair way of putting it. Is this – this is kind of a Rube Goldberg stringing it together with baling wire. It seems like this is going to be their Achilles heel at some point. Is that fair?
I think it's very possible. The Royals spent the offseason trying to get an upgrade in the outfield. And much like the guys who they've ended up using, they've whipped a lot. And it's a little frustrating because they clearly know the problem. And they need another bat. And they made an offer to Anthony Santander. It wasn't enough. And it was probably too late, to be honest, from what I'd heard. I think they'd already kind of gone too far down the road with the Blue Jays. They made an offer to Jurickson Profar. It wasn't enough. That's a few
That turned out
moments
okay.
at this point. They tried to, for sure. They tried to trade for Taylor Ward. The Angels, from what I heard, were asking an exorbitant amount because the Angels are weird. So far,
they're the AL Rockies, man.
They're 100% the AL Rockies, and that's a great way to put it because I don't know what the Rockies are doing either, and they don't either. That's what the Rockies and I have one thing in common, that we don't know what they're doing. I'd heard rumors that they tried to trade for Adolis Garcia. I don't know that they failed. I think the Rangers maybe just didn't want to trade him, which is fair. Brett Beatty, Starling Marte. You heard all these rumors all winter long, even up until like the day before the season. They were talking about Starling Marte. So they got Mark Canha at the end of spring. So they obviously were trying to upgrade. It just never happened. And so they trade for Jonathan India really early in the spring. It might have been the first big move of the offseason in baseball in general. There might have been one before it, but it was really quick. And they already have a second baseman, Michael Massey, who's a good defender. He's not a great defender. He's a good defender. India at second is not a good defender. He's not actually had a decent year last year. He's not bad. He's just not as good as Michael Massey. And so the question then became who's going to play where, and the talk was, India and Massey are both going to play the outfield. And Massey's going to play the outfield because second base and bending over for ground balls is what exacerbates his back and all that. So they go to spring training, and I was there early. Jonathan India in left field looked a lot like a second baseman. It was bad.
We just saw Jose Altuve, so
yeah, it was.
He's terrible out there.
Better than Altuve. Altuve's been brutal, which I'm here for. But
they have infielders in both corners because they've got DeCenzo, they've got Cam Smith. It's not working.
You're right.
Not working.
And that's nuts. That organization's gotten weird too.
Yeah.
But India looked terrible, and he looked fine at third because, like I said, drafted as a third baseman. He moved because I forget who they had at third at the time. The Reds did, but he moved to second base because they had a third baseman, and then just kind of stuck there. It was Suarez back then, and then I don't know why they didn't move him back. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So he played second base. Opening day, he's at third base, and then he's in left field the next day, and he kind of looked better than he did. And he misplayed one ball over the last weekend, and it was the ball that any new outfielder misplays. It was the line drive right at him. That's a tough one. I'm not, and that's where you run into trouble with guys who haven't played the outfield, is that you just don't pick that up as quickly. But something that's so interesting, I talked to somebody in the organization while they were in Milwaukee last week, just texting back and forth. And I said, man, India looks way better than even on TV the last week of spring. And he goes, yeah, the third deck helps. And I thought, that actually makes sense. Mm-hmm. The third deck actually helps you track a ball because it doesn't get lost in the sky in Arizona when the stadium is, 20 feet tall. You're going up. That might not be true, but you're going up. I don't know how many feet tall the third deck of a stadium is. And so I thought that was really interesting. He's looked a lot better in the regular season in left field. But yeah, I mean, Michael Garcia, he made a really nice catch today in center field. Not his position. He's a shortstop. Right. That said, he's up the middle. He's an up the middle defender. So maybe that'll work. I don't know. But yeah, it could end up being an Achilles heel.
I do like having India on the team, though. I think that he's a guy, maybe it doesn't fit positionally, but I like what he brings. So
for sure.
Let's take.
He had a 270 on base percentage from the leadoff spot last year. That's one of the worst of the last 15, 20 years, and they still were 13th in baseball in runs scored. So getting a leadoff hitter, that's a big improvement.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to ponder life and times with Jonathan India while we do this break, and then we will come back and talk more about the Royals and Twins.
There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the smell of the ballpark food. These are the things baseball fans hate. No, they love them. And if you're looking to go last minute, Gametime makes getting tickets easier than ever with last minute deals, all in pricing. I love that all in pricing. I know I see it every single time we have one of their ad spots, but I love knowing when I click that I want to buy a ticket, I'm not going to get any of those fees on the back end, but also a lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, tickets drop as the prices drop as the Gametime draws closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. It is the official ticketing partner of Locked On. And, obviously, Twins going to be in Kansas City for a while, but when they come back, I know the Mets are coming to town for one, which should be a lot of fun. If you want to go watch Juan Soto, maybe he can still be, not quite peak Juan Soto. That'd be really great. But if you need to grab tickets for any of those games, and I saw a lot of open seats today, Gametime is the way to do that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I fear I may have gone a little inside baseball with that reference, Dave.
Which Dave? The one about the stuff that baseball fans hate.
These are the things baseball fans hate. That's an old drill tweet.
The crack of the bat, the smell of the grass, the hot dog. These are the things that baseball fans love to complain about.
Yeah.
That's kind of
old drill tweet.
So Royals rotation. I think I really want to talk about Chris Bubic, but he's not pitching in the series. So maybe we can save a sentence for him in a moment. But I look at Lugo. I see Seth Lugo as for real. I think people are still expecting him to regress or turn into a pumpkin. Don't see it. I see Cole Reagans as one of the best left-handers in the league. I see Michael Wacha as an amazing kind of survivor guy. It's sort of strange to me that he's still pitching effectively in the league anymore after some really down years with the Cardinals. And I love that Bubic has come along. The Royals starting rotation, though, that's the best part of their team, isn't it? Other than Bobby Witt. Would you agree?
Yeah, there's an argument that's being formed right now that the back of the bullpen might be the best on the team, but yes, Reagans, Lugo, Wacha 1, 2, 3, Bubic 4, Michael Lorenzen 5 it's a really good rotation, at least on paper. Lugo had a rough first start. Wacha didn't have a great first start, but then he got a inherited runner in his last start, so that it didn't pitch as poorly as the 4 runs it says he did. But Reagans had a decent first start, also got inherited runner a little bit, and then had a really solid second start. So, yeah, I mean, this is a rotation that will take the Royals as far as they can go. They traded Brady Singer to get Jonathan India and basically did that because they thought Chris Bubic could replace him in the rotation. So far, he has and then some. And it's a good rotation. They have a legitimate 1. They have a legitimate 2, probably a 2A right now in the way Bubic looks like he might be headed. I think Michael Wacha probably trends more as a 4 as the season goes on, although I've thought that for 3 years with him, and he keeps putting up solid numbers. And then Lorenzen, as a 5, it's hard to argue with that. It's hard to argue with him as your 5th best starter. I do think that there will be some guys who will challenge him as the season goes on, health permitting. Alec Marsh is one of them. He had a decent year as the 5th starter last year. So there's some depth being built up. Noah Cameron in AAA. Kyle Wright is working his way back from the shoulder injury, which I wouldn't expect anything until we see him, but there's a possibility there. So the rotation, is the strength and probably is the area of the most depth on this team. They can withstand an injury even if it had to happen.
Can we just stop and appreciate this? Michael Wacha, first round pick in 2012, pick 19. Cole Reagans, first round pick in 2016, pick number 30. Michael Lorenzen, first round pick, 2013, pick 38. Chris Bubic, first round pick 40 in 2018. Seth Lugo, 34th round pick, 1,032nd pick overall in 2011. I mean, That's an incredible bit of dissonance there. I think Josh Kusnick represented him when he got drafted, if I'm not mistaken.
And then the number 2 who finished second in the AL Cy Young vote last year. So
It's crazy.
I think that, to your point, Dave, I think he's for real. I do. I also think there's regression, right? Like the guy's probably not a 3 ERA pitcher, over 208 innings, 260, whatever it was, but there's still quality there. And even if he regresses back to the Padres year, but with the Royals innings, that's a good pitcher. I mean, that's a legitimately solid number 2 starter, and it allows the Royals with their offensive woes and issues to stay in games. And then to the point, the back of the bullpen allows them to win games, which they weren't winning last year early in the season. They lost way too many games that they should have won early in the year. They won 86 games. You can make a pretty strong argument that if they had this back of the bullpen, they would have won 91 or 92 and won the division, because I think 1 or 2 of them would have been against Cleveland, which would have knocked them down. So that's their strength for sure. And it's nice given. See, you guys don't remember this as well as I do because it's not as recent. but the series where you go and you go, oh look, our ace is the 17th best starting pitcher on the staff that we are facing this week. So it's nice to be on the other side of that for once.
The front office, I think, realized at some point last year that the back of the bullpen that the Royals had at the beginning of the season wasn't going to get it done. They went out and they got Urseg, and a couple other guys. Bubic was a guy who really helped in leverage innings last year in the bullpen. This offseason, they go out and get Carlos Estevez and allow Urseg to pitch more in the middle of the game or in the setup role. But the Royals have even, more really good. Like Daniel Lynch looks like a really good option in the bullpen, and they have a couple other guys too. I think Zerpa hasn't had good results, but last year he was kind of indispensable in a bunch of games too. So this is kind of a deep group as well. They don't have a lot of. There might be a couple guys. Sam Long's had a tough start, a couple of really bad games, but other than that, they have a bullpen kind of like how the Twins sort of envisioned theirs. Not a lot of vulnerabilities.
It's pretty deep. John Schreiber, who was the main setup man for most of last year, is the 5th option now in the bullpen.
Yeah,
4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere in there, and that's how you get better, right? It's not saying, oh, John Schreiber doesn't belong on this team. No, it's John Schreiber doesn't belong in the role he was in. He is, if you line up bullpens and let's say he's the 5th, I think that's probably about where he is. I would argue that he's probably a top 10 5th bullpen option in baseball. And he would probably be a bottom 5 number 1 setup man in baseball. Well, all of a sudden, same guy, you get better though. You still have him. It's just you get better, and you don't line bullpens up that way, of course. But that is what you're right. The Royals saw the back of the bullpen was a big problem. They realized the guys who were in it were not the problem, but they were in the wrong roles. And so Hunter Harvey, they went out and got him. It didn't work out last year. So far this season, 13 up, 13 down. He could implode at any time. And any reliever is like that, of course, but he's been great. Urseg has been nailed since the Royals got him. Carlos Estevez, probably the 3rd best reliever of those 3. He's the closer, which is weird to say, but probably the right way to use him, because you've got your 2 better ones and you can pitch, aren't locked into the 9th inning. It's really helped. And as long as the rotation can get on track and the big 3 can start hitting, I think we're going in Kansas City, we're going to start seeing the back of that bullpen and say, okay, this is how they win a division. If they win a division, it's you keep the team close through 6, and the back of the bullpen locks it down while the offense can come back. And they've shown a propensity to come back late, or at least score late in games. So that's kind of that's the blueprint right now. And maybe they go out and get another hitter, and it's not quite as difficult. But until then, that's where they are.
How we're going to wrap up soon, but how do you get Jack Caglione in the lineup / where do you put him?
field situation, I think, because he has not played right field yet, but he will. He's hit like crazy in Double-A. I don't know if you guys saw the 464-foot home run yesterday. Yeah, that was insane. Going back to my time in spring training, I am not a little guy. I'm a pretty big dude. He makes me feel like a child. I mean, it's insane. This guy is Vinny Pasquantino size, but Alex Gordon muscle, which is crazy because Vinny's a big dude, and Alex was a weightlifter. So yeah, I think that's the way they get there is they're going to put him in right field. They're going to see how that goes. I was told by somebody before the draft last year that if he wasn't pitching, he would have been in right field in Florida. So it's easy to say because you don't have to. You don't have to back that up in any way. But I do think the athleticism is there. The arm is there. Obviously, he threw upper 90s as a pitcher, so you can throw from right field at least strength wise. I don't think the Royals are going to be able to keep him in Double-A very long because there's just not going to be anything to learn other than playing right field. So wouldn't surprise me if starting this week we start to see him in right field a little bit.
Well, we look forward to that, and we look forward to the Royals and Twins this week at Kauffman Stadium. We are going to wrap things up, but before we do, I want to thank everybody for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Listen to our podcast, too, which is kind of what you're doing right now. For David Lesky of Inside the Crown, for Brandon Warren of Minnesota, for Dave Brown of Lee Summit, Missouri, we want to thank you and have a pleasant good evening from Locked On Twins, and we want to remind you to see us tomorrow night.